chapter. This is actually as I mentioned before, tentatively I have covered the important chapter. They're going to be examined in your final exam, but I'm going to actually discuss the remaining chapters now. I believe that when it comes to answering the examination questions, or perhaps for the sake of your knowledge, we also need to actually make sure that some of the remaining chapter can be covered. Okay, so I trust that the current chapter I'm going to discuss, supposedly you have learned other subject as well. So this is where we actually focusing on collaboration strategies. So undeniably, when it comes to the operation of the business nowadays, you cannot operate the business in silo. That means you cannot do it alone. Whether you like it or not, okay, due to the integration of business and then advancement of technologies, and then the competition is getting stiffer. So that's the reason why you need to collaborate in order to make sure that your business could be delivered effectively. Okay, so if I'm talking from the perspective of collaboration strategies, what could you understand, guys, before I proceed explaining, okay, some of the strategies that could be implemented by the firms, by the entrepreneurs, by the managers. So how basically the tech-based company especially collaborate with other companies? Anyone? Can you give any example or perhaps any kind of strategies? Anyone? Do you understand my questions? You faham tak soalan saya ni? So, guys, hello. Okay. Start dulu. So basically, today we're going to discuss with regard to the collaboration strategies. So, I just actually ask you a general question. For example, hey Triputri, hey Faik. Okay, I have a company, for example, like biotech companies. How could I collaborate? So what going to be your answer? Hello? So what will be your answer? Okay, duplicated strategy. Okay, transnational strategy. Okay, this is very big word lah. Okay, what else? The simplest one. What would be the simplest way that you could collaborate with other companies? That's actually, sorry? Yes, strategic partnership or alliance, joint venture. Yes, that's actually the thing that we're going to discuss, everyone. Correct. Okay, so undeniably, you need to use or practice some of these strategies. Okay, so having said that, you dah nampak lah what the heading to. Okay, so when it comes to this, we actually going to see in terms of identify different mode of doing a business. So this is where we want to see whether the companies, basically when it comes to the execution of the key activities, how they're going to do that. Whether they actually want to conduct this kind of by their own, okay, or perhaps they're going to make it through a contractual mode. So that means they simply ask other people to make some of the activities, okay, for the companies. So that's actually the thing that we're going to do. And if they actually want to go for using the contractual mode, so what are the strategies that could be implemented? I believe you have discussed a bit. As simple as they actually do this kind of strategic alliances. So that means they're going to make some kind of collaboration. As simple as when it comes to this, it's going to start with the MOU lah, normally LO, letter of collaboration. They're going to collaborate at certain aspect. Okay, but normally when it comes to LOU, it's going to be short term, and then after that, it actually will be do MOU. MOU ni memorandum of understanding is another way lah. Normally they're going to specify what kind of collaboration, what kind of role they're going to be played by the partners, but not involving this kind of what we call it cost and agreement. Okay, and after that there should be like MOA, memorandum of agreement. This is where when it comes to MOA, normally it would involve some kind of monetary value. Okay, so that's actually looking in terms of strategic alliance, and then we also actually look in terms of licensing. Yes, licensing is actually indirectly part of collaboration strategies. So that means rather than you actually develop the product on your own, so what you can do, you just simply use other company's product by paying the license. So that's one of the ways. Okay. And then we also going to look with other part. I think JV, for example. Okay. So we're going to actually explain the type of JV and why JV give some kind of advantages as well as disadvantages. You must aware for this kind of collaboration, normally there should be some kind of what we call it advantages and disadvantages. And that's the reason why before deciding whether you want to continue with the collaboration, either you actually using some of these strategies, or perhaps you actually will be using another strategies, you should assess what basically disadvantages and disadvantages. Sometimes it can be based in terms of action of staff. Sometimes can be based in terms of reducing the cost in terms of the operation. So there are so many kind of things that should be taken into consideration. Okay, and then explain how we can improve performance at contractual mode of doing the business. And we also need to look with regard to the size of the company. For example, which type of company that normally can gain advantage through this kind of contractual mode or collaboration strategies. Sometimes this is actually always happen, okay? When it comes to what we call it involving the company into this kind of collaboration, so you actually must see siapa makan siapa. That means who basically acquired whom. So that's actually something that you need to really consider regarding this. Okay. So first, we actually want to see, okay, first question is in terms of the governance structure of the company. Okay, when it comes to this, guys, we want to see whether the company want to make everything by their own. Okay, so all the key processes in the value chain will can be called as vertically integrated modes when they actually make everything by their own. Okay, this is when we talk about this. A company value chain can be vertically integrated when a company owns all part of the value chain. So that means they actually have some kind of control, and then they are responsible for every single activities in the value chain. However, the company may also decide, okay, maybe some of the secondary, what we call it, activities in the value chain could be simply outsourced or can simply given to other parties to implement that. Okay, so contractual, when a company signs an agreement, so they kata an agreement. So that means when they sign the agreement, that means it's legally bounded. Okay, because they already show the commitment, signing the agreement, okay, with that particular company, with independent firm to provide part of the value chain. Okay, you must remember if what they are doing. That's why when we talk about vertically integrated, this is actually might be involved the subsidiary company as well. So that means the company still have the share. Okay. For example, when Proton basically kita ada Proton manufacturing, Proton holding, and then under Proton holding there should be like apa nama dia, Proton EDA. Okay, Proton EDA is actually a subsidiary for Proton. Okay, so even though it looks like a different company, but since it's a subsidiary, so that means Proton holding still could actually control Proton EDA. Similarly. Hello. Okay, similarly, under Petronas, as you might aware, Petronas also have so many kind of what we call it subsidiary or anak syarikat, okay, subsidiary companies. Okay, for example, under Petronas, there like MISC, contoh dia ada satu yang industri perkapalan. Okay, under MISC, there is one MMHE, contoh, subsidiary of MISC is MMHE. So that means that's actually showing to you how the structure look like, but still Petronas have some kind of control. Okay, so that means they still can give some decision with regard to the operation of the subsidiary. So this still could be classified under vertically integrated modes. Okay, contractual, normally you just actually give the contract to others. Okay, so the main important part for this chapter, we want to see what would be the strategies under the contractual form. Okay, so as you can see here, this could be relevant with technology licensing. We're going to discuss that, and then joint ventures, strategic alliances, contract manufacturing, and finally outsourcing. Okay, so when it comes to making decision whether you want to what we call it doing it by using the vertically integrated modes, or you actually want to do contractual mode. So this is depending on two aspects. Okay, so first, discreteness as well as tacitness. Okay, discreteness. Okay, so basically, to what extent you do not want to disclose the technology, the innovation, okay, to other people. So that's actually discreteness. So that's why contractual mode are better when technologies are discrete and then are part of the system. Okay, so that means you actually can control with regard to the secrecy of the technology. Okay, for example, when it comes to Apple, okay, when they try to do the activities by using contractual mode, so they're going to make sure that there shouldn't breach of contract, okay, and then the what we call it, the technology could be protected through patent, for example, okay. So that's actually where you can use discrete, okay, you can use contractual mode because of the discreteness, okay. However, a vertically integrated mode, that means you want to do everything by yourself, okay, when technologies are part of a system that requires coordination of the components. So for example, you think that it's better for you to implement everything, okay, rather than you going to outsource, or you're going to actually given the task to other people, okay. So that's why some of the companies, they're reluctant to do that because of the nature, and perhaps, okay, some of them they might think that it's very difficult for them to outsource the technology because of the tacitness. That means, okay, uh, when it comes to the delivery or transfer of knowledge, some of the knowledge couldn't simply be transferred. Okay, so this is where we want to see whether the knowledge of that innovation of technology could be documented or not. Okay, not everything basically could be documented. Yes, the recipe of food you can actually document it. Okay, perhaps in terms of the development of that technology, you can patent it. You know the flow, but not everything basically could be easily documented and transferred to others. So this is where the companies doesn't have any choice rather than they need to do it by themselves, because they do not know how they're going to transfer the knowledge and ask the people to develop the product for them. So that's why they need to conduct everything by their own. Okay, and contractual mode are better when the knowledge is easily codified. This is what I meant by the term of documented. Okay, so you must see whether the technology could be easily transferred. Okay, for example, when it comes to my job as a lecturer, so I don't think that it's actually challenging for the company, for the university to replace me. Okay, in the sense that it's actually could be easily documented when the newcomers come to replace my position or my role as the lecturers. So they could simply see all the document that I have made. Okay, so that's actually the sample. But there are sometimes maybe lah when it comes to very kind of secrecy, tak semua orang actually could replace the job of certain people because of the expertise, because of the knowledge, because of the what we call it abilities of that particular people. And for example, when it comes to programmer lah contohnya, there's one programmer that responsible for the development of the system. He knows better how it works, what basically the bottleneck in the programming language, for example. So what happened if he left and there is no document? Okay, even there is actually a document, it's not as easy as you might think. There should be some kind of what we call it challenges that might face. Okay, so and then the next part is vertically integrated modes are better when knowledge is tacit. Okay, so that's actually part of the thing that you need to consider whether you want to use the contractual mode or vertically integrated mode. Okay, so and then the next part, this is the type of collaboration strategies. As simple as we actually looking from the type lah. Okay, so this is if the company decide to use a contractual mode or contractual form of governance, then they have to choose a number of choices like this. Okay, so as simple as we will go for the strategic alliances. So this is the what we call it the basic kind of collaboration, the common kind of collaboration, where it refers to the collaboration between two companies to achieve a common business goal. And this is could be classified into vertical and horizontal. The main difference, vertical is like this. That means vertical, there should be different stages from A to B to C. For example, when it comes to production, testing, and then packaging and marketing. Okay. So for example, production, that should be conducted by one company, but after production would be testing. This is conducted by another company, something like that. This is actually involving different kind of activities. That's where we classify this kind of strategic alliances as vertical strategic alliance. Meanwhile, for the horizontal, they are doing similar kind of activities. Okay, they collaborate one another in order to support what we call it, the delivery of that particular activities. Okay, and then faham tak ni? So far, do you actually understand? Okay. Okay, good. Okay, so the next part is horizontal. Thank you very much, Anissa, for the feedback. Horizontal is different lah. Okay, this is strategic alliance. So this is the common one. Okay, as we can see that nowadays, as the world is getting more globalized, okay, and then we are simply connected to internet. So that's why more collaboration are expected to be happen lah. Okay. And then this is advantages and disadvantages. There are a lot of advantages, as you can see, that help develop new competitive advantages, allow specialization of capabilities, facilitate learning about new market and technology, so on and so forth. Okay. However, there are some kind of disadvantages. So that means there are some kind of limitation when it comes to the strategic alliance. First, it hinder the development of capabilities. Yes. Okay, some people, I'm sorry to say, I actually observe this kind of thing. We always actually outsource to other people. So that means eventually we're going to limit the development of ourselves. We're going to actually, what we call it, not learning other kind of activities or aspect or skill. You faham Because, you're going to say, it's okay, we're going to ask people to do that. We're going to ask other people to do that. Yes, it's good. People actually going to see this. Oh, it's very entrepreneurial. You know how to marshal resources. You know how to point the people to helping you. But again, what happened if you need to start from scratch after that? Okay, so that means some of the capabilities couldn't be developed because you actually always depending on your partners. Okay, and then the second one, risk loss of proprietary knowledge. Yes, okay, because of sometimes when it comes to this kind of SA, we call it SA. Okay, you might basically share your proprietary knowledge. So that means your secret, your core technologies to other people, and eventually you must remember when it comes to this kind of business is business. Some people basically might steal your technology, your innovation. So that's why you're still having some risk when it comes to this kind of collaboration. And then create antitrust problem. Yes, people basically definitely have this kind of trust issues. Okay, because of you do not know what basically the intention or action that will be taken by your collaborators. And nowadays, people actually coming out with the term of competition. Okay, so that means there should be some level the company should collaborate with the competitors. Okay, so having said that, they're in real life basically your competitors, but due to the fact that you want to accelerate your business activities and then learn faster, so that's why you're going to collaborate with your competitors. But again, definitely you're going to make this kind of collaboration with caution. Okay, so that means you still have this kind of trust issues because you're afraid that they're going to learn about your culture, your activities, your core technologies, and eventually uh, they actually will buy your company, will take over your company. And that's something that you must remember. Okay, and then the next part is joint venture. So joint venture is to put into the simplest perspective. It's like two companies come together, form another new companies. You faham tak maksud dia? Okay. Do you understand the main difference between SA and joint venture?
Is it same like acquisition, doctor?
No, different. Different. It's not acquisition. Acquisition is like you acquired another company. Okay. For example, Disney acquired Marvel. So that's actually acquisition. I trust that you have learned that in strategic management course. Okay. However, it's different. This is like company A, organization B decided that okay, we want to actually embark into a new business. So in order to do that, they form a new company whereby 50% will be held by company A, 50% will be held by company B, and they will actually establish a new company called the third company. You faham tak? Do you understand?
Yes, doctor.
Okay, so that's actually the way it works. Okay, joint venture is like the collaboration between two companies and JV come into picture. Okay, for example, from UTM perspective, we have a JV company called Magic X Neighborhood. So Magic X Neighborhood is basically a company whereby UTM basically hold the share with regard to the human capital. And on another side, IRDA, which is an authority in Iskandar Development Region, so they're actually responsible for giving the money, the capital to the company. So this is what we call as JV. And then for the JV, they need to really outline the number of shares, responsibilities held by each party, and it's totally different entity, different firm. That's what we call as JV. It's totally different, like being asked by Fai, with acquisition. Okay, it's not merger, it's not acquisition, it's another one. Merger and acquisition is basically a strategic management aspect for a company. Yes. Okay, you're going to merge together. That means when you merge, that means the company become one. So this is different. JV is like you create another company. These two companies just remain as it is, but they're going to create another company. Okay. Similarly, when it comes to acquisition, it's become one as well. Okay. However, when they acquire, sometimes the acquisition is like this. When the company have more than that means they hold the majority shareholdings. So that means if they have like 51%, indirectly this is what we call as acquisition as well, because they have the control to make any decision for the company. So that's the reason why, for example, like in Malaysia, the most hot topic when it comes to the acquisition or merger is like for our automotive industry, Proton. As you might aware, okay, like right now, okay, supposedly, what we call it, Geely companies, Geely, yes, Geely is actually a Chinese company in the automotive industry. It's a very big companies. They actually want to hold as the majority shareholders, but we must remember the establishment of Proton is part of our national project. Okay, that means it's our national car. So that's the reason why we cannot simply release this kind of equity to Gili. So having said that, 51% still held by the government through DRB Highcom. So that's how it works lah. Okay, because Kazana, previous Kazana, DRB Highcom. Okay, so that means the GLC, as you might aware, there are many of GLC company like Kazana. Okay, you know Kazana, everyone? Kazana National Berhad. Do you know Kazana? Do you know the role of Kazana? Guys? Hello, hello.
Heard
For
about it,
Malaysian.
but don't know what is it about.
Okay, like in Malaysia, okay, I'm talking in Malaysia, we have what we call as GLC, which is the investment arm of the company. Okay, especially we have a lot of GLC, and few of the GLC considers are the investment arm of the government. Okay, for example, like Khazanah. Okay, Khazanah is Khazanah National Berhad. They're actually responsible to make investment on behalf of the Malaysian government. Okay, so in order for us to control some part, for example, like in Proton and other part, Khazanah basically will invest. Okay, whether they become the major shareholders ataupun tak, Prasarana is part of it. Okay. Contohnya banyak actually is actually under GLC, KWSP. Okay, that means your EPF. Okay, EPF basically pun sebenarnya indirectly yes, PNB, correct. Okay, so this company sudah banyak sebenarnya on behalf of the government. Okay, on behalf of the government, so government basically establish this kind of corporate entity. We call it government-led companies. Okay, that means government have the interest Prasarana yang baru ni, Tajudin, that's why. Okay, Prasarana is a private company. However, okay, the chairman is actually among the government people, okay, government appointed people. Okay, macam kes Prasarana, PNB, so Prasarana lebih kepada facilities lah sebenarnya. Okay, however, I'm going to talk about this investment company like apa nama dia? KWSP, EPF, okay, Employee Provident Fund, okay. So it's actually governed by government, and then HRDF, for example, and then what else? Banyaklah sebenarnya. So definitely, ataupun Felda. Felda is actually private, but government have the interest, okay. So having said that, banyak juga bank sebenarnya. That's why during this kind of COVID-19 and the recent lockdown by the Malaysian government, people actually start questioning why basically bank couldn't help people, couldn't help giving the moratorium, okay? Okay, and then the Minister of Finance said that, we cannot control the bank, okay, because bank is private institution, and people start actually investigating, and people very good when it comes to netizen. They say that, okay, like CIMB, Khazanah or other part of government ada share, so supposedly we can give some advice for the bank, okay, to actually helping the people by giving the moratorium. That example lah. Okay, so sama juga macam this kind of aspect, everyone, when it comes to joint venture, it can be between government and government and what we call it private with private. How to avoid risk development for accounts is very sharing product information to collaboration. That's why there's some kind of NDA. Okay, normally when it comes to this kind of collaboration or any kind of things, normally kita ada NDA, non-disclosure agreement. Okay, I think you have learned that before lah. Okay, non-disclosure agreement, this is where when it comes to technology licensing, when it comes to the collaboration, when it comes to dealing with the third party, there should be some kind of things that could be considered as sulit. Sama juga macam kita bekerja, like for example, I am a government servant. So when I actually joining government, I need to sign what we call as we call it borang apa janji. So that means like an agreement. So one of the thing that I need to aware, I cannot disclose everything. If I know about this, I cannot disclose everything unless it's actually involving national interest or something like that. Okay, but working as a lecturer, definitely you not what we call it dealing with any sensitive kind of data, but as a government servant, definitely you need to aware of this. Okay, similarly, Faik, okay, when it comes to your question, definitely there's some kind of agreement. So on the agreement, it should state what kind of information that could be disclosed and couldn't be disclosed. Okay, for example, as simple as like macam contoh dulu saya kerja Irda back in 2007. So part of it that when we actually because Irda started by renting a building at Menara MSC Cyberport. Okay, so when it comes to this kind of rental agreement, the administration of that building stated that Irda couldn't take any employees from other companies in that buildings. So that means they're going to protect. Okay, so that's actually happened lah. Okay, so that means you can simply actually rent a space at that particular company, but the another company provide this kind of services, but you cannot actually hiring any people from another company, something like that. So normally in the agreement, as simple as rental punya agreement pun dia dah stated some kind of things. Okay, so joint venture can help companies to learn new capabilities, improve efficiency and pool resources. Okay, so that means when two companies combine together, it's not only referring to the financial resources, but also to the expertise resources, to the process, and other part. Okay, And then joint venture have drawbacks, some kind of limitation can lead to opportunistic action by parent companies. Yes, like I said lah, sometimes parent companies ni bukannya apa, they actually want to acquire another company, so they actually do it strategically. So that's why in business sometimes it's very ugly. Okay, it's very cunning when it comes to this, and it's also demand costly effort to blend organizational structure, culture, and strategy to be effective. Okay, so like Yuman said that it's hard to merge. Definitely, Yuman, merging is not an important exercise. Normally, you might actually appoint what we call it middleman that become the negotiator between these two parties. Dia bukan dua-dua. Dia masih ada seorang actually try to become the negotiator. Okay, in order to make sure that every single party would what we call it would agree with the condition and agreement. Dia tak mudah. Okay, merging and acquisition is not really simple. Okay, sama-sama lah macam Proton. Sebenarnya Proton banyak negotiation happen. For example, with General Motors and then with Volkswagen, semua sebenarnya. Tapi semua tu tak menjadi. Okay, if I'm not mistaken, before Geely comes into picture, there's some kind of agreement with what we call it with Volkswagen, but it's actually won't work. Okay, simply because when they want to go for the merging, we need to protect first the national interest, the employees, the technology, so on and so forth. Okay, sebab tu sometimes it's very hard, it's very challenging when it comes to this. It takes time. Could you imagine sometimes it takes time 1 or 2 years, and eventually it couldn't actually been realized. Tak boleh pun berjaya akhirnya. Okay, so that's actually we talk about that, and licensing is a simplest way when it comes to the collaboration lah. That means normally you have this kind of technology, you have the pattern, you have this kind of module in terms of copyright. So if you want to use that, that means you can use that through license. So having said that, why is still considered as collaboration? Because the company who want to buy the license, they do not need to develop by their own. So that means they can actually reduce their time rather than they go into R&D lah. Because sometimes when it comes to this, the R&D sebenarnya yang takes time for you to develop as well as money. Okay, so one of the easiest way, you can simply buy the license. Okay, so this is referring to the end arrangement in which firm permit another to use its IP, okay, in return for a fee. Okay, so when it comes to this, kita boleh tengok advantages of disadvantages of licensing. Okay, so here, if you look here, by using the licensing, enhance financial return, rapid market penetration, manage risk, and reduce IP dispute, because you know who basically the owner of the IP or patent. Okay, however, licensing can hinder several parts. For example, the development of capabilities. Similarly lah macam tadi. Okay, that means when you outsource, you just simply use the license from other people. As a company, you don't develop your company well. And then lower profit than producing a product or service, okay, and then create competitors. Simply because, yes, other companies can also buy that license unless ini kita panggil sebagai exclusive licensing. So that means you only permit that kind of technology or license to be sold, to be used by one company. So this is actually exclusive. This is actually could be requested. So that means you take this kind of exclusive licensing in the hope that other people won't do it. Okay, and then eventually you can minimize, okay, the level of competition. Ada yang open licensing, that means everyone basically can use that license. Ada juga satu license ni owner dia banyak, okay. So that's actually variety type of licensing. You kena tahu yang itulah, okay. This is do and don'ts of technology licensing. Kalau you tengok dekat sini, apa benda yang you kena buat, apa benda yang you actually need to avoid. Okay, for example, okay, assume that you don't assume that you have all the information to a license just to record a deal. Make sure your company is capable. Okay, don't try to create a zero-sum game. Okay, don't be inflexible on. So that means license sometimes it's like negotiation, because before you're able to use the license, you should know the condition. You should very particular. For example, don't assume that you have all the information. Okay, as simple as, for example, when you use this kind of Microsoft Office, it's licensing, right? So ataupun you actually want to use other part, you akan actually ada banyak dia punya term and condition that you need to read. However, kita tak read pun. Okay, kita terus sign. Okay, sometimes without you aware, some of the thing that when you sign it, one of the thing that perhaps you must be sensitive with that issue is your privacy. Okay, for example, when you use this, most probably the company can take the data, your own data. Okay, forget the issue of fundamental fairness, give right to future discovery, so on and so forth. Okay, so that means what I want to say when it comes to the technology licensing, still you must consider the advantages and disadvantages. So that's why something that you need to do lah. Okay, so next part, exclusive. This I said tadi lah, exclusive and non-exclusive licenses. Exclusive, that means only one license. Okay, so exclusive licensing give licensees stronger incentive to develop technology, but raises the risk of choosing the wrong licensee. Okay, so that means only one people that going to use that license in the hope that other people won't use that, and you could minimize the level of competition. Okay. Definitely the price of using that exclusive licensing is a bit expensive since you are the one that going to use that license. Okay, some people when it comes to licensing, they're going to customize based on the needs. For example, maybe the software, okay, they develop this kind of thing and then their patent or copyright, and then they give the license for other people to use it based on the customization. Okay. Okay, and then cross-licensing. Ini saya cakap tadi, the cross-licensing or bilateral licensing is an agreement between two parties to license reciprocally. Okay, important in industry with patent belonging to many firms are needed to develop a single product. Okay, for example, everyone like Apple, for people actually to come up with Apple, there are a lot of patent and licensing just from that particular phone. Okay, because sometimes the chip, the system, what else, the design, so the copyright, so actually a lot. Okay, thousands of IP basically could be traced from just a phone. Okay. Okay, and then the next part we're going to discuss with regard to the what we call it outsourcing and contract manufacturing. So outsourcing is assignment of some aspect of company's operation to another company. I think you're aware of this. Okay, for example, like kita selalu cakap pasal Apple. When it comes to the distributing the product in Malaysia, they're going to outsource it to other people. So that means the marketing aspect would be done by the authorized sellers like a machine, like switch, so on and so forth. Okay, and then outsourcing allows firms to specialize on their core capabilities, expand their operation at lower risk, and increase the pace of activity. Okay, when you outsource, that means definitely maybe you're not knowing the local preference, so you can simply outsource to the local partners, okay, to do that particular activities. And then outsourcing can be hinder risk of loss of proprietary knowledge. Yes, that's very true. Sometimes you do not know what we call it this capability development, but the thing like this, you might actually accidentally transfer or perhaps disclose your technology. Okay, and then capability development, you actually do not have the expertise since everything done by your partners, and then involve high transaction costs. Correct, because for you to make this kind of thing, you actually need to discuss first, negotiate, and then it might even some cost, and then lawyers' fees need to be paid as well. Okay, and then outsourcing is more successful if firm focus on non-core activities. That's the reason why I always actually said that when it comes to the outsourcing, normally they're going to outsource the secondary or non-core activities to the partners. But the core activities, for example, like Apple, they're still actually going to conduct it. For example, the R&D, the development or design of the product still conducted by Apple in the headquarters. Okay, so the main question of listening to all of this, we actually want to know whether it's better for them to work alone or collaborate. Okay, so this actually could be reviewed, okay, by looking from this kind of forces, the industry, nature of technology, because some of the technologies, for example, in biotech, sometimes you need to outsource. You need to actually make a collaboration. Okay, for example, macam contoh, contohnya, okay, from what we call it product development perspective. If you want to export your product to overseas market, definitely you need to get assistance from the what we call it other companies in that foreign country to help you. Okay, for example, in biotech, in vaccine, maybe you're going to collaborate. Who's basically got the license? Okay, Okay, so and then strategic factors, type of firm. Yeah, strategic factors, for example, people actually want to penetrate into other companies, into other countries. So in order for them to do that, they need to actually first collaborate with the local partners. So this is actually happened, for example, like Alibaba. So they want to penetrate to the Southeast Asian market like Malaysia. So what they are doing, they actually acquired Lazada. Okay, so this is part of the strategic things that they do in order to what we call it, strengthen their position as the main marketplace business in Southeast Asia. That's actually an example. Okay, because of the strategic factors, you need to collaborate. You cannot actually say that I want to go to that particular countries without any collaboration. Okay, as simple as like in Indonesia, Malaysia and Indonesia is quite close, right? But however, it's very challenging for the Malaysian business to penetrate to Indonesian market because Indonesian government is very protective when it comes to protecting their local business. That's actually the good part of the Indonesian government lah. Okay, as simple as, for example, macam saya cakap halal certificate. Okay, like in Indonesia, they only recognize the halal from Majlis Ulama. Is it Majlis Ulama? Am I right? Majlis Ulama Indonesia. That should be the what we call it, the stamp of the halal. But like in Malaysia, previously a lot, but right now we try to control. It's only what we call it. It's not only Jakim lah, but in Malaysia we still can accept the Majlis Ulama Indonesia halal. Okay. So rather than they apply to Jakim, but Indonesia is very strict when it comes to that. Okay. Okay, and then market for knowledge, market you often fail because of disclosure paradox and follow-up problems. So again, like I mentioned to you, when it comes to the development and commercialization of technology, sometimes it's fail because of this, okay, because the information provided. So this is actually based on the industry, okay. So kalau lihat dekat sini, when it comes to the strategic alliances, sekarang ni IT yang paling banyak, biotech juga, biotech paling banyak dia punya strategic alliances now on, okay. People, especially during this kind of COVID-19, okay, people actually to realize that the need of this kind of biotech. Okay, ironically, I just want to actually share with you. Okay, when it comes to this kind of strategic alliance and collaboration, maybe nanti you boleh tengok this kind of case. Pfizer ataupun this kind of vaccine companies, okay, they actually develop this kind of thing at their lab. Their lab is very big lab. But when it comes to production, siapa yang buat production vaksin ni sebenarnya? Guys, you know? Okay, vaccine COVID-19 especially. So when it comes to the development of the R&D, it's basically produced by, it's basically what we call it implemented by the company itself lah. But when it comes to the mass production, do you think that they actually produce by their own? Yes, thank you very much, okay, Yuman and Christopher. Ironically, okay, many of the vaccine basically produced from a country called India, okay, India. And then lagi irony, lagi interesting to for us to think about. India paling worst case. Even though India is actually a country that produced the vaccine, not invented the vaccine, tau, produced the vaccine. However, India ni lah yang paling banyak case juga. Okay, so you nampaklah sebenarnya the when it comes to vaccine, yes, it's actually developed or created by the company, but when it comes to the mass production, not done by the company. So we can discuss lah, yeah, this issue as well, and then ada macam patent issue, technology, so on and so forth. Okay, so that's actually our discussion for today. Itulah dia yang saya nak bincang hari ini. So from your perspective, everyone, what are basically the best things? Is it you need to collaborate, macam vaccine, okay? Which one that you think is actually most effective? Again, like we discussed just now, like I shared with you, it depending on several factors, okay? However, when it comes to current situation, that means our market is much more integrated. We need to work faster. So that's the reason why you need to collaborate, okay? Okay, guys, I think that's the end for today. Any question? Sorry. Okay, any question? Faik, ada question?
Yeah, Dr.
No?
Exactly. I want to ask
Mhm.
about company. So exactly, Doctor. Tadi Doctor cakap like NGA, and then can we know exactly the others, like, because some of the companies sometimes when they doing like collaboration together, sometimes they ambil the production, like can we like exactly ask them?
That's the risk. Correct, Faik. That's the risk. Okay. That's the risk yang dia kena actually aware when it comes to this. Okay, there are few things lah. The non-disclosure agreement normally referring to the information knowledge, but that's part of it. Okay, certainly, when it comes to the licensing, there should be a long agreement. Okay, inside the agreement, there should be some kind of what basically could be done, what basically couldn't be done. Contoh, for example, okay, maybe they're going to say that during this collaboration, the company, during the collaboration and after 1 year the collaboration ended, each company couldn't hire the employees of that company. Dia akan cakap siap-siap. Because sometimes, dia bukan nak curi teknologi juga, dia nak curi kepakaran. You faham tak maksud saya ni? So normally, they're going to actually started in that particular agreement. So this is how they're going to protect the interest for both companies. Okay, and then that's the reason why when it comes to the merger and acquisition, normally it should be done by one mediator. So company ni lah normally from legal lah. Sebenarnya company mediator ni normally come from legal people. Sebab tu ada yang legal firm yang for corporate corporate punya company ni, corporate punya customer ni, dia memang actually expertise and M&A, kita panggil M&A. Memang tugas dia adalah untuk check semua dokumen and pastikan all the document basically safeguard the interest for both parties. So that's the reason why the process going to be very tedious, time consuming, and then a lot of negotiation happen. Okay, you faham eh? Okay, and then yeah, so that's the thing lah. Kita tak boleh macam ambil itu buru-buru lah. So again, discuss and discuss. For example, macam sekarang ni kan what we call it, the main issue that actually happen when it comes to the new government, masa zaman PH, zaman PN pun sama, is actually during Najib time, basically we have a deal with regard to the train. This is collaboration, this is country collaboration between a few parties, a very strategic one, okay, between Malaysia, which is and Singapore, as well as Chinese company. Okay, because Malaysia and Singapore, they actually said that we're going to what we call make a deal with the Chinese company that going to provide the technology and train, kita panggil high speed rail. Okay, that connect between these two countries from Singapore to Putrajaya within 1 hour and a half. That means between 1 hour and 30 minutes. Okay, however, it's actually been postponed. I'm not pretty sure. I think I would say that it's been postponed for now, even though Singapore is the one that insisted that we should continue. Okay, and interestingly, this year, Indonesia has started from Bandung to Jakarta. Am I right? High speed rail. Betul tak, Christopher? Am I right? Ada kan high speed rail? Okay, so kejap. So could you share with me how the process going? How is it already operated fully? The full operated ke? Yuman? Christopher? Anyone or any Indonesian here would love to share the achievement of your country having this kind of high speed rail? Meanwhile, Malaysia having the accident LRT. Ironically lah, this kind of thing happen. Okay, anyone? Chris? Anyone? Iqbal, you tahu tak dekat Indonesia dah ada high speed rail? Hello? Okay guys, buka kamera, kita dah nak habis ni. Saya sudah setengah ada lagi satu meeting ni, dah dapat reminder. Buka kamera, kita discuss ni, discuss. Discuss, Riwe, 3 lama tak tengok muka you all. Anissa, Fazli, siapa Josh Benedict? Saya confused, siapa ni?
Dr. Adesha?
Just Benedict, Indo to Thai, is it any train Indo to Thai? I'm not pretty sure, Yuman. Maybe some kind of agreement happened, but I'm not pretty sure with regard to that plan. Okay, nampak yang lain-lain ni mana? Iza, Atika, Melissa, open your camera. Sekejap je ni. Open your camera please. Okay, kita discusskan. Data saya slow. Okay, data slow tak apalah. Okay. Siapa ni? Muhammad Arif Arif Kurniawan. Is it you? Okay, so tak apa. Hari ni 3 bulan, besok dah boleh keluar Besok tak PKPD kan?
Ya, sudah
boleh
selesai.
keluar. Besok tapi still boleh keluar 10 km lah kot. Besok PKP. Okay, Alhamdulillah UTM dah orang kata uplift the PKPD. So you dah boleh keluar ke college, beli makanan, Alhamdulillah. Okay, so basically kita nak discuss sikit lah ni, okay, pasal Indonesia ni. Bukannya apa, Indonesia dah ada high speed rail. Am I right? Okay, Arif, apa yang awak tahu pasal, apa yang kamu tahu pasal high speed rail? Sukanya Iqbal buat muka macam itu, Iqbal. Okay, high speed rail.
High speed rail, I think under construction, Dokter. This
Kita ada
for
construction.
Bandung and Jakarta.
How long does it take the duration from Bandung to Jakarta after this? I never been to Bandung.
Previously, I think it's about 2 hours. Yeah, with the
High speed rail?
No, not the high speed rail, the basic train.
Okay, the basic train 2 hours, but with the what we call it, if the high speed rail completed, so how long would it take from Bandung to Jakarta?
I think maybe around 1 hour 30 maybe.
I think should be less, or 40 minutes, correct? Should be less. Okay. Yes. Okay. For example, like the duration from Singapore to KL when it comes to the normal train, you tahu tak normal train daripada Singapore, kita nak cerita Yes, kita ada sebenarnya. Dulu memang ada sampai ke Tanjung Pagar. Okay, Tanjung Pagar dekat Singapore. That's actually Johor Land. Okay, as you might aware, Singapore was part of Johor. Okay, until it was separated, we actually separated in 1965. But some lands in Singapore basically still hold by the Sultan, including Tanjung Pagar, which is the location of the train. Only like 3 or 4 years ago, kita dah serahkan semula ke Singapore lah. So the train is like what we call it from Tanjung Pagar daripada Singapore direct to the Kuala Lumpur, and it actually took about it normally take about 8 hours. Lama sebenarnya. Okay, 6 hours lah. Saya even myself, I pernah travel sekali sahaja in my life. I'll just share with you. Saya pernah travel from Johor Bahru. Okay, dekat if you go to City Square, okay, there's like one train station there, old train station. So I traveled from Johor Bahru at 11 p.m. I arrived in KL around 6:30. So that means it's about 7 hours. Okay, so that's why from Singapore to KL by train, the normal train, it might take about 8 hours. But with the introduction of high-speed rail, could you imagine, okay, it's totally fasten the duration and reduce the number of time from 8 hours to 1 hour and 30 minutes. And then they actually will go to several states, 8 locations, for example, like JB, and then Kulai, and then mana tak lagi, Melaka, Seremban. There are 8 cities across. Okay, that's actually example. Okay, but this is very strategic kind of thing. When it comes to high speed rail, you boleh belajar macam mana government to government, government to the company. Sama macam company Chinese dan sebagainya, because it's involve few interest. Macam Singapore, macam Indonesia, dia memang tak ada masalah sebab Bandung to Jakarta is like one country, but here it involves several countries. Okay, but this is the plan. Maybe in the future kita boleh, sebenarnya you all boleh naik train daripada what we call it, daripada Singapore terus ke United Kingdom. There's actually a way. Kan, Trans-Siberia, contoh ada Trans-Siberia train. You actually boleh connect between the trains from Singapore to the United Kingdom. Cuma UK tu nanti, kalau you sampai dekat France, you akan naik Eurostar. Tahu kan? Okay, sebab France, mainland to the UK is an island actually. UK basically a big island. So from France, for you to go to the UK or other European countries, basically you need to take ferry or you naik Eurostar. Eurostar is high speed rail train station. Okay, that means it's connect between France. Saya tak ingat nama train station tu. Okay, and then to London. So that's actually how it works lah. Okay, and they take about 1 hour 30 minutes. Okay, that's my experience lah. Fine. Luckily, saya cerita kau, I never been to the UK. Okay, but saya pergi UK Disember 2020. Okay, UK and France. I went to this country 2020 December, which is few months before outbreak. Tapi sebenarnya December 2020 tu dah ada COVID-19 dekat China. Okay, so that's actually I think the perancangan tu akhirnya delay and finally I managed to go to the UK. But I actually experienced lah, took the train from the UK, from the London to the France lah, to French, okay, to Paris during that time. Okay, so that's actually how it works out when it comes to this. Definitely a lot of agreement between companies and companies. So at least you're aware, because when it comes to technology, normally first aspect is technology licensing. Dalam tech base, technology licensing. And then sometimes you can actually collaborate. Okay, you need to collaborate. Yes, Sadiq. Yes, Sadiq, what happened? Sadiq, Sani, what happened?
Yes, doctor.
Are you okay?
Yeah. I don't know why my camera is like this.
Okay, so first I'm going to highlight in terms of licensing. Second, when it comes to the contractual mode, so for example, there are some part that they need to outsource. They need to make JV. So this is something that you need to aware, because they don't have the capability to develop the technology, or perhaps they want to focus on the core technologies what being done by Apple. They just focus on R&D. However, when it comes to distribution, they're going to outsource. They're going to actually put into agreement with another companies. Okay, I think that's all for today. So that's the thing that happened. Nanti kita akan update. Saya rasa dalam masa okay, semua dah I'm sorry to say, semua kejap. Sekarang kita ada lebih kurang 3 minggu lagi, 4 minggu, termasuk minggu ni ada 4 minggu. Okay, semua dah interview. Ada tak yang masih boleh interview? Dah, semua dah interview kan? Okay, right now actually please make the report very fast. I'm expected by mid of June kita akan actually finalize. So by next week saya akan cubalah kelas hari Selasa saya cuba. Saya kira setiap Selasa je mesti meeting. Setiap Selasa mesti meeting. I'm so sorry because bulan 6 ni bulan 5 bulan 6 ni penuh dengan meeting. I really appreciate your understanding. I try my best to cover everything and make sure that the class could be done smoothly, but sometimes I actually occupy with other commitment. Okay, I think that's all. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Okay, I really hope that you learn something. Iqbal, sudah tu Iqbal awaknya. Are you okay, Iqbal? Suka Iqbal. Okay, so I think that's all for now. Guys, stay safe, take care, and have a good day. Okay, bye-bye. I'm going to share attendance again. Siapa yang belum share attendance, for those who scan attendance, you